So this is part two. I'm gonna do a short. I'm trying to get these videos short and powerful and very um, understanding when we talk about constitutional creatures, and then we talk about creatures of Congress. So let's first look at the word and definition of creature, so you understand what's going on. So let me share this. Right. Share creature. Let me show y'all what a creature is. Share the screen. It says a creature as a noun is anything created, hence a thing in general, animated or not, but most commonly a living being from Old French creature, created being, all creation, from Latin cre- creatura, a thing created. The creation, a creature from cretus, past, a participle of Latin cre, cruri, to make, bring forth, produce, beget, right? Pi root, care, to grow, right? Used as used of humans in limit cases and contempt, com, commiseration, endearment, meaning person who owes his rise and fortune to another, meaning anything that the minister to man comforts, comforts, comf- comforts. I'm sorry, meaning anything the minister to man comforts. Timothy 4. Every creature of God is good, and led the jocular use of creature for whiskey, intoxicating drink, right? Creature comforts, material comforts, food, clothing is from the 1650s related to creaturally, right? So you need to understand when we talk about creatures of Congress, creatures. So the constitutional church is a constitutional creature. It was created before Congress, right? Congress was created, but these corporations that's created by Congress under Article 1 jurisdiction, these are creatures of Congress. And Congress have the jurisdictional authority to create the intent and purpose of the creatures that it create under the legislation. So I want to show y'all the correlation of events. It's a correlation of events that y'all got to pay attention to. So now we're going to understand, okay, now the difference between a constitutional creature and a statutory creature, right? So under the Bill of Rights, this is the first legislative authority by the Constitution. Got nothing to do with Congress and its bills for its legislative authority creating statutes. So a constitutional church is outside the scope of a statutory church that is created under the religious right Illinois Religious Corporation Act, because it's a corporation. So you want to come out of that. So now that falls under the guise of Article 1, when a constitutional creature falls under the guise of the Constitution, outside of the scopatory of the statutory authority. So I just need y'all to understand this. This is why I'm making this video. Now let's go on to how is the executive branch getting involved in all of this. So let's go on. Let me break this down. So I went into this, and so we're gonna go into the CFR, all crimes being commercial. So let me break this down. Let me show y'all what's going on with this. I'm trying to make this video. Stop this. Let me make this video real short. Let me go back in. All crimes being commercial. So, according to 27 CFR, burglary, counterfeiting, forgery, kidnapping, larceny, robbery, illegal sale or possession of weapons, prostitution, extortion, swindling, and any other thing. I want y'all to look at this. And many other things. And many other things. So it talked about all of these stuff, and it says, and many other things, like simple addiction to drugs and marijuana use are considered defined as commercial crimes, where you are converted into an object for commercial use, right? Due process of law becomes a farce. So let me go back. Let me go to another section, right? Let me go to another section, right? So let's go here. Let me stop this, right? Let me stop this and let me go to here. Let me share this with y'all. Let me show this. Let me get this down with y'all. It says if crimes are commercially coding according to if all crimes it says if crimes are commercially according to 27 CFR 7211, that means a crime is a business transaction, doesn't it? Right? Commercial crimes, any of the following types of crimes, federal or state offenses against the revenue laws. So, revenue. So now they put you in a different venue, right? So the revenuing, that's the issue, right? Burglary. So now you fall under the tax laws, and I'm gonna show you how all of this stuff is intertwined. And this is why you have to get understanding when you're dealing with the court. You need to know the particulars. You need to challenge what they're talking about on the basis is that this is a due process violation. So when you hear people talking about all of these different things, you know, challenging the court, you hear certain people talking about um, under the Constitution, there's two forms of crimes. There's one under admiralty, maritime, and one under the common law, right? So you have a right to know. That's a due process issue. Known or should have known. These are due processes issues. Do you have a right to know? So nobody can have a secret jurisdiction and then charge you for something that they keep in secret from you. If they haven't disclosed this to you, this is a due process issue. This is why, if you notice everything that King L. Bay talk about, I talk about due process from a substantive and procedural level. This is why I was winning a lot of cases. Not because I was guessing, it's because I understood the articulation of when I argue due process, that's all I argue. I don't talk about anything. I ain't gonna get into all the merits and the facts. We're gonna get to stick with the fact of the due process issues. Because you have a right to know. No one can keep you in the dark and publicly charge you for something that in which it is unidentified. This is like an unidentified moving object. You a alien, a UFO, right? So you have a right to identify with anything. You have to, when you're dealing in contract law, you always got to remember the parties must be identified, or you ain't got a contract. How you gonna sue somebody and they're not identified? You have you have to have an identifying party. This is why your name is on caps, and they're trying to identify you with something associated with the jurisdiction, right? This is why you can challenge the jurisdiction based upon due process issues, right? So I'm gonna break this down. So I'm gonna go into how they are getting jurisdiction. I'm gonna show you something, right? in relationship to all the stuff that I'm talking about as you relate to the militia, right? So we're going to go to the Constitution. Now we're going to go to the Constitution, and I'm going to show you the correlation of events under the presumption of law that they're presuming that you are a part of the military, because the president is the he's the chief executive over the military, right? So all crimes are commercial in nature, right? So we talking about offenses against the laws of nations as it relates to what? Let me see. Where's the other one at? So let's go. It's your boy King Gilbert. It's your boy King Gilbert, dropping knowledge all day to provide for calling forth. So this is Article 1, Section 8, right? And they're going to start talking about the militia, but I'm going to show you from the state, I'm going to show you all of this stuff from the constitutional fold to the statutory fold, in which the execution of authority, in which they're utilizing to pull you into the jurisdiction. So it says, this is Congress. Congress have the right to provide for the calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrection, and repel invasion, to provide for organizing, arming, to provide for organizing and arming and disciplining the militia. I want to say this to you again. To provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such parts of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states, respectively, the appointment of officers and authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. So you go into public schools. You go into they're educating you. You're getting a public education. This is funding. This is all the stuff that they're talking about. They're using particular language, and you don't even understand what's going on. So we talking about federal questions of law. So you have a right of discernment. So when I go into court, first thing we challenging and we understanding, okay, if this is a crime, well, let's get into it. Right? And the thing that you have to do, there's other jurisdictional issues, right? We're gonna talk about ipso juris, right? Right? I'm not going to get into the international law, but when you start understanding ipso juris and you start understanding all of these different components, now things will start trying to make sense as you move into the international level of understanding due process and understanding all of this stuff mirror each other, right? The UN ain't nothing but a charter. United States ain't nothing but a charter, right? Franchise, different name for franchise, and you're members of this bilateral treaties or contracts, right? It's all contract law, and you're subject to those laws under the contract. So they didn't do nothing special when creating the UN. All this stuff is basically the same. It's based upon contract. It's all this stuff is the same. And once you learn this on a domestic level, you'll be able to transcend to the international level and be able to look at the particulars and break this down, because law is very specific, and then you can understand the translation in which is being used through the language, and now you can be with pinpoint accuracy make certain determinations. So let's go. So organizing the militia, okay, disciplining the militia, disciplining. So Congress have the right to discipline the militia. So I want you to understand this, right? To exercise exclusive legislations in all cases whatsoever over such district, not exceeding 10 miles squares as may be secession of particular states. I want you to say by secession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States. Listen to this. And to exercise authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislative state in which the same shall be for the erections of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. You need to understand this. And to make laws which is necessary, be necessary for proper carrying into the execution for the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by the Constitution in the government of the United States in the department, okay, or in any department or officer thereof. Here we go. So when you read this, right, they telling you the militia, and then they talk about the legislation, right, over the districts, not exceeding the 10-mile squares. So Congress stay within its 10 miles. Congress is in this jurisdiction, right? Now, and it talks about the secession particular, right? This is why we talk about the Bill of Particulars, secessions of particular states, right? So we're talking about secessions of particular states. We're just breaking this down. So you need to know the particulars. This is why they call it a bill of particulars, right? When you're dealing with these people, because you have a right to have discovery. You have a right to know. And it's talking about states. What are they talking about? So Congress extended everything according to the executive branch, and this is why I'm trying to get you to understand. Become the seat of government. It says, and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of government of the United States to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislator of the state, in which the same shall be for the erection. So they telling you, this is what they did. They got consent from the states. So Congress and the state is working together, right? So this is what we're talking about contracts at. We're talking about reading into this, right? For the legislator of the state in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenal, dockyards, and other needful buildings. So this is what they're doing. This is all for military purposes. To make laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying out the execution. So now we're talking about the executive branch, execution. Okay, execution, the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States. In the government of the United States. Listen to the language. What is the government of the United States? You got three branches: the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch, or any department or officer thereof. It says any department. So I told you that all departments are ran by who? The executive branch. And the officers, right? These are military officers, right? So a militia is a part of being an officer, right? So let's go on. I'm not going to get deep in breaking all of this stuff down. This is why I'm going to do the master class so y'all can get this stuff, man. Y'all can get this through y'all thick heads and people can stop lying to you, right? And now you can understand what you're up against. So let's go to the militia, right? Let's go. Now I just showed you in the Constitution. Now I'm going to take you to the state constitution Ohio Constitution, right? So let's go to the Ohio Constitution, right? Now we're going to break this down. This is Ohio Constitution that I'm about to show you. And then I'm going to show you the laws. Come on, man. This is what I do. Ohio Constitution. How they getting jurisdiction, right? We ain't going over, we need to read the preamble. Let's look at because the preamble is a part of the Constitution. We, the people of the state of Ohio, grateful to the Almighty God for our freedom to secure its blessings and promote our common welfare, do establish this Constitution. So they use God in it. We, the people of the state of Ohio, grateful to Almighty God for our freedom to secure, once again, to secure its blessings. So you have a right to secure your person's properties and effects, right? Your houses and all of this, right? And promote our commonwealth. They're under a commonwealth. This is a common welfare. This is a commonwealth. A commonwealth. Do establish this constitution. So you got to understand, what does this mean, right? So all crimes are commercial, right? Under the CFRs, that's the commercial, and they're treating you as part of being a part of the militia, right? So let's go. Stop sharing. Let's go. Come on. So let's go back, right? Let's go back, right? Let's go to the Bill of Rights. I'm going to break this down. Let's go to the Bill of Rights. So let's go to inalienable rights. Let's go here, right? This Ohio Constitution. Inalienable rights. All men are by nature free and independent and have certain inalienable rights, among which are those of enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring possessions, and protecting property, and seeking and obtaining happiness and safety. So this is a constitutional right. This is not statutory. So a lot of y'all go out the folds of Constitution and reach for a statutory authority in which the application. So a lot of stuff you can just do merely through contract by understanding the language, right? So identifying yourself in a particular manner according to the prescription of law based upon the Constitution and how it's operating. So this is the state constitution. So we're talking about inalienable rights. So all men by nature are free and independent and have. So all men, right, by nature are free and independent and have certain inalienable rights. And have certain inalienable rights. I want y'all to understand that. So this is their constitution in which we're talking about. We're not talking about anything else, right? So the state constitution, right, which you got to understand, is promulgated by the state and adopted by the legislation, right? So when we talk about the Constitution of the United States, right? That's a congressional, that's not a congressional legislation. It's not a bill through an executive or is adopted by the executive. It's a constitutional, right, uh, legislation. Then you have congressional legislation that has to go through its due process. But the Constitution already gave you these bills of rights. So it's a constitutional legislative authority. Congress didn't grant this. This was granted by the Constitution in which they signed off on, and that all the states agree to this. Not only do the states agree to this, the federal governments, right, the international body of in which can do and get into international affairs, right, has also adopted this. So this blankets the when we talk about the United States Constitution, right, it blankets all 50 states and the government, right? So a constitutional church has its validity from the Constitution as much as Congress, and it has the right to make its own laws and do its own thing in accordance to its constitutional authority. So let's get this right. So let's go on. Let's continue. So let's let's go down to the militia, right? Let me break this down. Let's go down to the militia. The militia. Let's go down to the militia. Let's go back. Let's go down to the militia, y'all. So when we talk about church and state, and they're saying they're separate because the intent and purpose are different. So all these corporations I don't care what you are, all of them are taxable creatures. They got a tax lien on all of them. They automatically, because they codified and they fall under the section of the RIC, which adopted by the USC by Congress. So you have a tax lien on the franchise. So every business that you have automatically have a tax lien on it. You need to understand the correlation of events. So a church by constitutional standards is separate because its intent wasn't created by Congress. It was legislated by a constitution in which it's a tax-free entity because it wasn't made for that purpose. So this is why you got to understand what's going on. So when you make a business, you got to understand why you being taxed, why everything is a tax, and why everything falls into a tax and insurance scheme. Everything falls into a tax or an insurance scheme. Let's go on. Let's go on. Okay. Now let's go ahead and share this screen. I'm tired of talking to people, and a lot of people be thinking they know some stuff and they don't. So this is how they pulling you in because you're a part of the militia. You a resident. And this is what they say. All citizens mean all corporations, residents of the states / resident of the state. So when you reside in the state, being 17 years of age and under the age of 67 years shall be subject, so you are subject to the enrollment in the militia and the performance of military duties. Bam! In the manner not incompatible, in a manner not incompatible with the Constitution and the laws of the United States as may be prescribed by law. So I just want you to understand this is how they're pulling you into interstate and intrastate commerce, because most of you guys are part of the selective. All you guys are part of the selective service. Pull yourself out of selective service, you won't get no more funding. You can't go to school. You can't get no financial aid. You ain't gonna be able to get anything, right? You're not, because you pulled out. So now they won't necessarily have jurisdiction over you. So these are things that you have to challenge. These are things that you have to be pulled away from. You can't get no benefits. Once you pull yourself out of the selective service, I guarantee you won't be able to get no kind of unemployment, none of these things. You won't be able to get it because you're not a part of that system anymore. They can't draft you. They can't. So let's go here. But you do have an exemption, right? So they tell you. The governor shall. So hold on. Let me share it. Let me just get into this. Let me see. Let's get into this, right? Let me get into it. It says the governor shall appoint the adjutant general and such other officers and warrant officers as may be provided by law. So there you go. So now let's continue. Let's come on. Let's keep on going, right? It says, who is exempt? I'm trying to tell you who. Now let me see who is exempt. They tell you exemption. It says the governor shall have the power to call forth the militia to execute the laws of the state, to suppress insurrection, to repel invasion, and the act in the event of disaster within the state. So all you guys, right, you got to understand, right? So let's go. The General Assembly shall provide by law the protection and safekeeping of public arms. So this is why when you carry guns and stuff, all of this stuff is controlled by the public. Exemption, right? Let me say militia and its exemptions. Okay, who is exempt? I'm trying to see exemption. I'm trying to remember. They had it. I'm trying to see. It says, all right, let's go. Let's go under here. Let's go right here. Let's go. Section, Ohio Revised Code, right? Persons exempt from military service. Come on, organized militia, right? Now we're going to go down. I'm skipping all of this stuff, right? I'm going down here. Custom house clerk, mariner's license by the United States. It says right here, I want you to look at this. It says any person who claims exemption from service because of his religious belief or moral conviction held as a matter of conscience. So, okay, you can be exempt, right, based on your religious beliefs. So you're part of the militia, right? But I want you to understand, right? You still may have to provide certain duties under certain legislation. You may not have to carry your gun, but you may have to provide certain service. But you can challenge what you can do. Here is a matter of the state. Now, on the federal government, that's another issue because you got to jump through the state and then the federal. Okay, this is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand when dealing with this construction of law. You guys got to understand how they're getting you to under interstate and intrastate commerce, because you are a part of the selective service, a part of the militia. So let's go to the Ohio. Okay. Selective service registration. Let's see, is it under the Ohio Revised Code? Selective was revised code. Selective service. So let's go. Let's go again. Let me break this down because I gotta get ready to go. Trying to show y'all something real quick. Just break this little video down. Okay, let's go here. Section, this is the Ohio Revised Code, right? Section 3345.32 of the Ohio Revised Code requires male students between the age of 18 and 26 who are Ohio residents register for the Selective Service and verify they have registered within the Selective Service in order to be considered in-state residents to attend Ohio public colleges and universities. Right? Students' non-compliance with selective service laws. Now I want you to go here, right? It says state, university, college mean institutions is breaking it down, medical, right? Residence has the same specified by the rule of Chancellor of Higher Education. So you got resident, the meaning specified by the rule of Chancellor of Higher Education. Statement of selective service status mean a statement certifying one of the following, right? The individual filing the statement has registered with the selective service system in accordance to the Military Selective Service Act. I want you to understand this. You are under the unorganized militia, creating a minimum contact through contract that you are a part of the selective service. So when you get ready to graduate, they make you sign this off, right? So they're educating you and they're training you to go to work, to be idiots, to sign up for selective service, and you got to understand all of this stuff. This is why the Moors, we got to come back together. The following individuals filing the statement is not required to register with the selected service for one of the following reason. The individual is under 18 or over 26 years of age. The individual is under 18 or over 26 years of age. I want you to read that again. The individual is under 18 or over 26 years of age. So if you over 26, you don't have to sign for it. The individual is on active duty with the armed forces of the United States other than training in a reserve or national guard. The individual is a non-immigrant alien lawfully in the United States and according to the Immigration Nationality Act, 8 USC 11. Here you go. This is what I'm talking about the Moors. When we start understanding this stuff, this is what we got to do. The individual is not citizen of the United States, is permitted to reside in the trust territory of the Pacific Islands, Northern Mariana Islands, right? And I'm not going to go through this whole thing because it's, I'm trying to get up out of here. I got to go to the gym. So, but it also say no male born after December 31st, 1959 shall be eligible to receive any loan, grant, scholarship, or other financial assistance for educational expenses granted, right, of the revised code. So I'm letting you know they cutting off your money. by any award, the Choose First Scholarship Program, the Ohio Revised Code, financed by any award under the co-op internship program. So this is what we're talking about. So when we talk about public and private, see, a lot of people have misconstrued you because they're not specific in the nature of law, right? When you talk about you are public and you're private, ask these guys, are they still signed up with the Selective Service? That's going to kill all this stuff. All these people teaching you public and private and secure party. Ask them, is they a part of the Selective Service? I ain't got nothing else to say. So this is your boy King L Bay. I'm signing off. Understand the nature of the game. Let's drop this science on everybody. This is your boy. I'm out.